I love the woman at the well. The story of the woman at the well. I don't know, man. Like there's just it is so rich as far as I'm concerned, and in all of Scripture is, but
Yes.
it is so rich for so many different reasons.
Oh yeah, there's many things to be pulling from this story. But where are you gonna go with it, my little, my 400-pound?
Well, I wanted to golly. So I guess if I could do a short overview, I would. But
Yeah.
okay. So Jesus he's headed to Israel, or I guess he's headed to Jerusalem. I'm sorry, and he's got to head. He's got to go through Samaria, and there's this woman there. I'm gonna pick it up in verse 7 actually, because
Okay.
it's so good, man. In verse 7, so he's in Samaria, and the disciples have gone into the town, and
Their food run.
right.
Yep.
I'm going to actually back up to verse 6. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour, so around noon. A woman from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink," for the disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Jesus answered her, If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying it to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you the living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where do you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob? He gave us this well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and his livestock." Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty and have to come here and draw water." And this is where it gets...
Oh my gosh.
Ooh. Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband to come here." And the woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. So what you have said is true." Okay. And I'm just going to stop there.
Gosh.
Like, it is so rich,
Easy,
right?
Jesus.
Because there is a cultural context of,
Yes.
really men didn't talk to women, that were not their wives.
Right.
And she was a Samaritan,
Right.
which the Jews, they thought they were like dogs,
Yep.
right? Like they didn't mix. Okay. So there's that. Now he engages her on the physical, the physical,
Right.
hey,
Her
water,
need in
thirst,
the moment.
right? But he also recognizes, and this is Jesus we're talking about, so it's
course.
obviously a little deeper.
You're right.
But it wouldn't
Right.
have taken much to understand the 6-hour noon. This is not when women draw water.
Right.
This is not it. They don't do that in the heat of the day, and they don't do it alone. Right? Like that's sort of like the meeting place for the women of
Right.
the community. They go draw water together. So he understands that she is sort of put off, right? There's a backstory there. And it's important because he engages her in this water, right? Like the living water, this thing that you're thirsting for. And so then he quickly shifts to the spiritual, right? The living water. Anyone who drinks of this water is not going to be thirsty again. And she is like, "Hey, give me this water. I don't want to come back here."
Right.
Okay? And there's a reason for that. Okay? And then he gets right to that reason. Right?
Right.
Go call your husband.
Well, I don't have it. Dude, and
Right.
gosh,
I love this story.
it's a brilliant way to lead and instruct. Of course, he knows that, right? We know who Jesus is, but he does. We're in the flesh.
Right.
It is easy to be in this spot to this woman and going, who are you? Where's your fifth husband? Like, it's
Right,
easy for
right.
us to lash out
Right.
and say that.
Mhm.
As if she doesn't know she's on her fifth husband. You think she doesn't know that? She's
Right.
reminded of it every day,
Right.
every moment.
Mhm.
Instead, Jesus goes, well, go get your husband.
Yeah.
It's forcing her to go, well, I don't have a husband.
Right. So he's
We're
getting
dealing with it.
right. He's in a sense, right. He's kind of stomping on her pain, you know, that backstory.
Right.
Because that's the stuff that hurts.
I was just going to say, so it's obvious this is coupled perfectly with, I just told you, thing I give you, you'll never thirst again.
Right.
It's going to well up in you.
Right.
Okay, I just told you that. Please remember that, because now we're about to deal with something that sucks. This
Right.
hurts.
Right.
You don't have to have that.
Because he's not talking, he's obviously not talking about the physical.
Mm-mm.
He is.
We left that.
Right. Yes. We're moving on.
Yeah.
And so that longing, again, for what? For acceptance? For forgiveness? For what? You know? And so, you know, going back to your student, it's like, you know, again, I don't know his backstory. I have no idea.
Right.
Right? What the little that you've told me is it's pretty obvious that, you know, he's doing the best that he can do. And does that mean that that's all he can do and you know that's just good enough? Well, no, I think that we do need to call him up some more, right? Like that,
Right.
because
Right.
there's a standard in life and
Right.
like, look, man, you can make excuses
Right.
or you can get busy.
Right.
And again, I'm not minimizing it. I'm
Your
just,
your fifth husband is not merit to get to your 15th husband. Right?
Right.
We can deal with where we're at now.
Right.
Let's deal with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gosh.
So he's getting right into it because the thing is that there has to be a backstory. Why has she been married 5 times?
You're
Like,
right. Yeah.
Right. Like, and again, I'm not trying to read into text because I don't know.
Right.
Right. And we could speculate.
But
maybe.
we got there somehow.
Right.
What did that person go through?
And
to get
as a
there?
result,
Right.
right, she's sort of an outcast in her community. Right. She can't go draw water with everyone else. Like what is going on there? And we don't know because the text doesn't tell us, but we do know that Jesus is compassionate and Jesus met her right where she was. Okay. And she sort of tries to change the subject and all this and that. You know, the other thing is they go on. She tries to, you know, sort of not get back at Jesus, but sort of push back in that you Jews think that this is where you ought to worship in Jerusalem and, you know, get back in there. And someday, you know, the Messiah will come and he will make it plain and clear. And he reveals a very important, obviously, truth, right?
Mhm.
Because he reveals to this woman who has had 5 husbands, she's with a man that she's not married
And
with,
you were,
right?
I guess, because you could like, if you were a psychic, it's easy to be a psychic and find someone out backstory and then surprise them with a phone call.
Sure.
Like that's how this scam works. So he could have heard her reputation, but to then call out, yeah, and even this current guy you're with is not your husband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like he's well aware,
Right.
and that's you talk about dealing with an issue head on.
Mm-hmm.
We're not dancing around it.
Right.
It's just brilliant. Like, it really needs to be studied, this scenario, because again, I've said it a million times, but I'm in the flesh, man. I can react quickly and wrongly
Absolutely.
and hurtfully.
But then he reveals that truth, right? That
Right.
he is the Messiah.
Right.
And because I remember him asking, you know, asking the disciples, who do they say I am?
Who do they say?
Right?
Right.
And then who do you say I am? And then he says, you know, Peter obviously answers, you're the Christ. Well, you didn't receive that from man, you received that from God. Okay? So Jesus is telling her who he is. So this is and a couple of takeaways, obviously, as it sort of getting back to that story, is that truth is not always easy. Okay? It's certainly not convenient. Sometimes it hurts a bit. Okay?
Right.
But when we understand that we are all uniquely made, right? That we all have a backstory, that we all are made in the image of God, right? Who is made in the image of God? Everyone, right?
Right.
Okay. So they deserve, right, that grace and mercy and kindness dignity, right? I don't have to agree with someone's perspective on, the Second Amendment or what they think of God or whatever it is. I don't have to agree with them. And but it does not mean that I can treat them awfully or
Right. Right.
that they don't merit grace and mercy, kindness, understanding in a way. So when we think of effective ministry, it has to be rooted in that,
Hmm.
right? It's not always about convenience. And we do need to understand that just because someone is rude or short or mean or a drunk or you name the sin, right? Doesn't mean that they're not a real person, right?
Right.
That they don't deserve God's grace, mercy. And
Hmm.
we as Christians, as an extension of that, get to display that. So
Gosh, good stuff, man. It. Well, I'm just repeating myself, but it is easy, man, for us to judge the pariah and cast them aside like garbage.
right.
Someone, I shouldn't say someone, but like an image bearer. That's what I'm trying to say. An image bearer, and we'll toss them to the side like a piece of garbage.
Right. I mean, you hear someone speaking with like just foul language, and there's times where I work. There's a skate park pretty close to where I work, and it's like, man, there's times where those kids are out there just dropping language,
Yeah.
man, and it just it would be easy to like you know straighten up, like what's wrong with you.
Right.
But the truth is that how are they raised?
Right.
And I'm not indicting their parents. I'm simply saying that maybe
Something.
that's just not something that was impressed upon them as
Right.
important.
Right.
That it didn't matter how you spoke or carried yourself or any of those things.
Right. Gosh, man.
Right. And I just and we could go all day about that, about just many different scenarios. The truth is that I don't have to understand why someone makes the choices that they make, but it's not my job to judge and convict them of that, right?
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that I do that or sacrifice truth on the
Right.
altar of
Right.
peace.
We
That's
don't-
not what I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't have to condone misbehavior.
Right. We can call it misbehavior, okay?
Right.
But is that a personal thing? Just like your student, right? You address the issue regardless. Now, do you understand more of the backstory? Yeah. Does that help you give more compassion? Absolutely. And praise be to God. And I am encouraged by that, and I hope the listener is encouraged by that, there are definitely situations where we need to take a moment and understand, okay, what led to this? Like, why?
Right.
Instead of just immediately reacting, we need to have a calculated response with compassion.
Yeah.
So,
Gosh, and it's tough, man. Is there? Are you done with that passage? Okay.
Yep.
'Cause I'm definitely not stepping on a point, but I can't read her story and stop there. Like I have to finish. And so like if I can, verse 28, man. Why did she go out there? She went out there for a physical need, right? It's high noon, thirsty. She needs water. She's going out there. Verse 28. This is after her interaction with Jesus. I love this so much. Verse 28. Then, leaving her water jar, the woman went back into town and said to the people, "Come see a man who has told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah?" She literally fled so fast she left her physical need. That's the whole
Right.
reason she went out there.
Mhm. Right. He shared the truth with her.
Yeah.
Like he stomped on her pain, and she
Gone.
like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah.
Plum forgot about her why
Right.
she was even out there. That's how
Yeah.
fast she had to get back and tell people this.
Yeah.
Which I can't stop there either, man, because imagine this woman with her reputation running into town and she's got news. You can imagine everyone going, all right, there's the floozy. Like, what has she got to say? What is she blabbering about? Like, you can imagine how well it's going to be received because of her reputation. But I dig this. Verse 39, many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony.
Mm.
He told me everything I ever did. So when the
Amen.
Samaritans came to him, they urged him to stay with him, and he stayed 2 days. And because of his words, many more became believers. They said to the woman, we no longer believe just because of what you said. Now we have hurt ourselves, so we know this man really is the savior of the world.
Mm.
Because this, gosh, dang, that chokes me up too, man. Like he uses this. I don't want to say piece of garbage because she's not. He used this outcast, this person who is being disregarded by society.
Right.
She is messing up. She acknowledges that. She knows where she's at in life.
Yeah.
Because of her, they go in and people go, man, we believe because of your testimony, first of all.
Yeah.
And now we believe because we heard it ourselves. Like,
absolutely. This is absolutely one of my favorite examples of Jesus' ministry, because it's loaded. And you're right, man. She was marginalized and treated like garbage in a lot of ways, and a lot of people had to have written her off. You know, because again, she had a colorful past. But
Right.
but if we're being honest, who doesn't?
right. And and is that why we get hurt so easy too? Is when another image bearer throws us away? Aren't we also aware of like, oh man, how come you're throwing me away? Like I know you've done bad and you're hurting me. Like that puts more hurt. We're
Right.
so aware of that,
Mhm.
where people are coming from, and then for them to throw us away, we're aware of it, man. And
Yeah.
Jesus, man, he didn't respond like me. Like he didn't
Right.
respond in the flesh. He didn't snap. He used her. He gave her the
Mhm.
truth, and he used her.
Yeah,
She
that's awesome.
She spread the message. Oh my gosh.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff.